everybody, how's it going? Nick from Vant Trading here, and I am here to give you an unbelievable trade of the day. And this is a trade of the day that quickly netted me a quick $7,000 almost, and it happened in about the span of 5 minutes. And the best part about this trade is it has the potential to make me a whole lot more, and it is a trade that I actually called out live on our trading podcast at 1 p.m. Eastern every day. And we're going to go through this trade, and I'm going to show you, this is going to be a nice quick walkthrough. I'm going to show you the setup. I'm going to talk about what the thought process is between this trade, because this is a repeatable trade. This is a setup I have seen. I couldn't even count how many times over the years that I've been trading, and it's something that I've seen this month multiple times. So this is a repeatable pattern that you can hopefully take and mold and tweak it so that it fits your trading style and your risk parameters, and then hopefully you can use this as a tool in your toolbox, or an arrow in your quiver, if you will, to improve your profits and really rake in some nice consistent returns in the market. The stock I am talking about today is WEI, or WEI Ltd. It is an ATR, and as you can tell from this daily chart, it doesn't do much. In fact, if I were to remove today's price action, if it'll let me, you can see that the most we've seen it trade in the last calendar year is about 586,000 shares in the day, and on that day it almost moved a full point. Holy cow. So how is something like this going to provide you as a day trader or swing trader an opportunity to make some profits with some low risk? Well, let me show you, because it's all going to come down to today. Now you look at today where we haven't even seen this stock eclipse 1 million shares traded, and today it did 126 million shares. Well, yeah, that's kind of a significant change there. And if I bring up the intraday, you'll be able to see some of the price action here. And I'm going to talk about this trade and this trade setup. First off, let's bring in today's morning price action, because as you can see from the pre-market going all the way up to about 10 a.m., this was on no one's radar. This stock would have been on absolutely no one's radar, and it has zero news catalyst. You heard that right. This stock has absolutely no news piece out on it that I have noticed and that I've been able to find or dig up. There is no industry-wide news that this stock is getting wrapped up in. This is just your typical pump and dump manipulation drive this stock higher. Now, a lot of times this can be a risky kind of setup or scenario to enter yourself in, but with the trade that I'm about to show you, it was actually very clean and very efficient. Now, you may have seen this stock show up on your radar, maybe around 11:30. You see this huge volume spike. If you've got scanner set out, maybe someone like us tweeted it out about the stock and you decide to pull it up. Well, for us, I didn't take a trade in this until the end of the day. In fact, I didn't call this out until midday, right about here. At 1 o'clock Eastern every day, we have our live podcast, and I pulled up this chart, and this is exactly what it looked like. In fact, you can watch that podcast on our YouTube. And I talked about this consolidation that we're putting in right here. This consolidation is great, and I'll tell you why. Because we're seeing elevated volume clearly on this day. We're seeing way elevated price action. We're sitting at the highs up here, and we're hanging around this pink line. And this pinkish purplish line is VWAP, volume weighted average price. It's one of my favorite indicators, and it's probably one of the most widely used indicators out there in the market for technical traders. Now, my thesis was I am not touching this unless towards the end of the day we see it actually start to gap up and start to push new highs with increased volume. And why did I think I would see something like that? Well, first of all, the market does have patterns that repeats itself. It does. We've seen something like this happen before time and time again. A stock that is a low float stock that is suddenly breaking out and in play for no reason at all, seeing a surge in volume up way more than it's ever been up before, and then it starts to consolidate or baseline, maybe churn a little bit as the shares trade hands, and then at the end of the day, more traders come in and they surge this thing into the close. It's that ending close of that end of day hype, as now the shorts that we're piling in get squeezed out into end of day momentum. And that is fantastic. I love that. And so as we progress along here, what I did and what I would recommend all of you do if you ever see a pattern like this and you're interested is either put it up on your screen somewhere or set an alert. And in my case, I set an alert for just under $4. I wanted to know when this thing was getting above kind of this range that it put in, and I want to know pretty early. So eventually, if we kind of move along here, you can see that going into the end of the day, 3:52, 8 minutes left in the trading day, the stock starts breaking out. And we see the volume just starting to tick up a little bit. I'm instantly interested. Now, I'm not blindly buying because we have seen these stocks kind of break out and just sputter out before. The volume may not follow it up. But you're not going to hold this down below 3. If you were to say buy on this initial breakout because you want to be an early enterer, you need to know where you're getting out. Are you getting out below VWAP? Are you going to get out below the lows here? I personally don't even hold that far. I need the momentum and I need the price action in my favor, because otherwise if it's soggy and milling about, it's not going to give you my next setup, which I'm going to talk about here. So at 355, almost exactly, after I saw this thing chop around $4 for a minute or two, I was confident. And I actually bought 10,000 shares at about 414 and then 418. So I was a little late on this one. I was intending to get this closer to 4, but I was a little too patient. And started acquiring in here and got a sizable position. Now, for me, my stop is if we even start moving down. If this thing looks like it's going to roll back over, I'll get out, because guess what? I can get back in if I want. And so I took a sizable position, and look what happens in the next couple of minutes. We go within the span of 3 minutes to about $4 to $5.50. That's incredible. It's over a 25% move in 2 minutes, 3 minutes here. Now, I was intending on holding 90% of this position overnight, because what a lot of times happens is after this stock closes, if this stock closes at the highs on a breakout on the daily with elevated volume, a lot of times, not every time, no stock setup or trade works 100% of the time, but 90% of the time, you will see at least a move higher in the after hours. That momentum will carry itself through into the after hours. You'll see people actually build and push this thing higher, and a lot of times you'll see a gap up the next day and then a morning squeeze the following day. It's a repeatable pattern, doesn't happen 100% of the time, and obviously there is overnight risk, especially of a headline coming out or the stock being halted, which is why you want to book a lot of your profits. Now, this quick squeeze up here actually made me end up closing my position. I closed my position, I think my last executed trade was at $5.25. So not bad, I got about 25 cents off from the highs. And I ended up booking in a quick $7,000 in profit. Now, what I did do was quickly just snag a little more into the close, because I still want to take part in that initial sweep, that initial push higher. And lo and behold, look where we are now. That's right. We went up another 100% from the close in what, the 45 to 50 minutes after the close. This stock kept screaming higher. I will be honest, I was not expecting this. I was expecting this to gap up maybe to $6, maybe $7. I actually exited my trade in here, and that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. This is something to learn from for me, and this is a good learning opportunity. I was a little too gung-ho, I guess, on the profit taking. This does happen. It can go higher than you expect. It can go lower than you expect. I could have come back, and those shares could have been trading at $3 a share or $2 a share. But I booked those initial profits on this end of day squeeze, and I wasn't giving much of that back. You need to understand your risk. So the trade I'm talking about here, as you could probably see, let me just switch over to a 5-minute. It'll be a little easier for you to just visualize here as it takes up more of the chart. You have this small low float stock, obviously a BS company that's probably being pumped or manipulated higher. I don't trade in this initial hype here. I don't have an edge in there usually. It's too crowded. It's too whippy. Could this thing go to 20 this day? Could it go to 2 and then crap? Who knows? And then I see this consolidation. I don't anticipate and buy in this consolidation. That momentum could have never come back, and this could have closed at $1. It happens. I waited. I saw the confirmation in this breakout going into the end of the day. I saw the increased volume. I saw us just starting to hold up here, and I took a flyer. I had tight stops. I knew what I was doing. I knew what my target was. Honestly, my target was going to be just past these highs, the previous highs of the day. It was a close enough target. We ended up getting way more than that, which was great. And I held a little for that overnight gapper. I believe actually some of the other trade of the day videos on this YouTube might be this same setup, but with other stocks. I talk about this kind of setup a lot, and I talk about taking overnight gappers a lot. If you watch our live podcasts, you'll see me make these call outs, and you'll see other kinds of plays and setups like this. I tweeted out the call as I was entering the trade and as I was taking it overnight, and it turned out to be a really nice 5-minute trade. It took me no time at all. I made a quick 25% plus on my capital invested. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to overanalyze this and give you too much to swallow. We already went over 10 minutes. I didn't think it was going to be that long. I apologize. But I hope that this is a setup that you can at least take and see if you can understand the rationale behind it. See if you can understand the thesis, the reasoning for it working, and why something like this might benefit you. If you don't trade these small price stocks, maybe this is something you take into a larger cap stock. I've seen a similar setup. It's all about that squeeze. It's all about that, that continued momentum and really, just powering through all of these levels, because there's another thing about open air up here, because this stock has never done this before. I'm going to leave it at that. Be sure to subscribe or like this video. If you have any questions at all, or you want me to look at another chart, feel free to comment that on our YouTube. I'm checking our comments every day. And if you want to hear some of our callouts, we have our free trading podcast on our YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern every day, the Vant Ram podcast, or check us out on Twitter and Facebook at /Vant Trading. This was Nick from Vant Trading, and as always, safe trading.